And we are recording on Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 at 11:36 a.m. Eastern Time with Saint Clare Lopez, who has the patience of an angel as I have rescheduled and canceled more times cumulatively as well as in a single day. I mean, I think in the last 3 hours I've given you 9 different times, and you are always available, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. But because we have a shorter show, I don't even know where you want to jump into it because I mean, just glancing at the news, it's like a military plant exploded. There's a peace deal in the Middle East. Like what in God's name is going on right now?
Well, thank you. And of course, I'm always glad to be with you. And, schedules are crazy sometimes. I
Yes,
get
ma'am.
that, and so is mine. The first thing that I would actually mention is yesterday at the White House, where President Trump had flown back from the Middle East early in order to be there yesterday
Oh yeah.
to award the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor for a civilian in the United States, to award that to Charlie Kirk posthumously on the day actually that would have been his 32nd birthday. And there to accept the award, the medal on Charlie's behalf was his wife, his widow, Erica Kirk. And she gave just the most moving, beautiful acceptance speech after Trump's own wonderful accolades, for Charlie, remembering his life and everything he accomplished. So that kind of was at the top of my mind from yesterday. Um, and I guess you probably watched it too, huh?
Yeah, no, it's that is kind of a just and it kind of does trivialize all of our own problems. Just as you said that, I'm like, yeah, man, that you, yeah, like, yeah, be grateful
Yeah,
for my own problems. It is, yeah. I mean, would be 32nd birthday. It's a horrific thing.
right,
Um,
right.
but and then I guess flying back, what exactly is the peace deal? I mean, as always,
So,
there's yeah.
oh yeah, okay, good. Let's go to that. So, um, after more than 2 years of fighting against Hamas in the Gaza Strip, as well as all the other enemies around its periphery in the region, Israel um, negotiated with the assistance of U.S. President Donald Trump, of course, also playing a huge role, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, and others. And I would give a lot of credit here to our Secretary of State, Eric, what's his name? Scratch that. You got to fix
Who's
that.
secretaries? Rubio?
Yeah, Rubio. Marco Rubio. I should remember that name because that's the name of my son-in-law. Um, but Marco Rubio and the State Department team that played such an important role in bringing together in support of negotiations all these other regional countries and governments. Um, I'm not completely sure what Turkey and Qatar have to contribute, but I am glad to see many of the others, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, and so forth, that Marco Rubio and that State Department team brought in. So I give all of them credit and more. But what was agreed to, and this is some time ago now, a couple of weeks more than that actually, is a 20-point plan that the Trump administration drew up and under which are a number of phases. Phase one, that was signed by all these parties in Sharm el Sheikh this past Monday, that is 2 days ago. That phase one was about a ceasefire, temporary, obviously, and the exchange of prisoners that Israel was holding since October the 7th, as well as others, terrorists with blood on their hands from killing Israelis. Exchange of nearly 2,000 of them for the remaining 20 Israeli hostages believed still to be alive and held all this time by Hamas. And that exchange did happen on Monday morning. Again, that is 2 days ago. And that was being celebrated, and rightly so. And watching, the reunions of those families with their loved ones they'd not seen in 2 years was just such an occasion for rejoicing and joy, and our hearts with the Israelis, all of them, and their families and the hostages. But then phase two, which was supposed to commence immediately after phase one, um, involves the disarmament of Hamas, and the withdrawal of the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, to certain boundaries, certain lines that were drawn in Gaza, that would reduce the footprint, or the area that the IDF was in, to around 50% of all Gazan territory. That's where they are now, and they have withdrawn. So now they are more or less on the periphery, all around Gaza, on the inside, on the Gaza Strip, but inside, occupying about 50% of that territory. And then what was supposed to happen is I'm going to take a quick look at where did I put all my notes here, about the establishment of, where'd it go? Well, I can't find it. The
Okay.
establishment of a international stabilization force, which is supposed to be comprised of volunteers, basically from countries around the region, that would contribute military forces to set up this international stabilization force that I guess is supposed to be responsible for ensuring the uh, disarmament of Hamas. But nobody's volunteered yet. So that hasn't happened. But in the meantime, what has happened is that in Gaza, in all of those areas that um, that the Israeli Defense Forces have moved back from, Hamas is reasserting its control. And in particular, what they're doing is running the streets, gunning down, killing any members of some of these local clans, among which the Dugmash, but others too, that while the IDF was there, cooperated with the IDF against Hamas. And so Hamas is now gunning them all down in the street, just massacring them. And there's nobody there to step in or stop it. The IDF is holding to its withdrawal positions, not interfering. But this is what's going on already. And the next step that's supposed to happen after the disarmament of Hamas, which is not happening. By the way, Hamas would see a ceasefire as something they would call a hudna. You probably know that word. It basically means a temporary ceasefire, and it's based on the actions, reportedly, of Muhammad way back in the 620s, when they concluded the Treaty of Hudaybiyah with one of the Jewish tribes against which they were fighting at the time. And that was supposed to be a 10-year ceasefire. Treaty of Hudaybiyah, 10-year ceasefire. However, that was enacted in 628, current era. But after 2 years, the Islamic forces felt strong enough, built up enough, that they just marched into Mecca and took it over. End of Hudna. So that's what, after Oslo, it's what Arafat called the Oslo Accords, nothing but the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. And I'm seeing the same thing now. This agreement is nothing but the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. It's a Hudna. It's for as long as it takes Hamas to reorganize, rearm, reassert its control. But what's supposed to happen also next is something, the establishment of something called the Board of Peace, or the Peace Board. And this is going to be headed by, co-chaired by President Trump and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. And many experts would be on that board too. And they're supposed to set the framework and organize the funding for the rebuilding, the redevelopment of Gaza. During this time, also, yeah, this is pie in the sky, but let me finish. Um, uh, the Palestinian Authority, which is supposed to have no role whatsoever in governing or administration in Gaza after the fighting stops, but the PA is supposed to reform. Now, what is the PA? The PA is the Palestinian Liberation Organization founded by Yasser Arafat in the early 60s and other jihadi groups like Fatah, Tanzim, Al Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, and more. That's what the PA is. But they're going to reform. I don't know who's going to oversee that, but they're supposed to reform. I guess there are supposed to be Arab and other international partners to make that happen or something. Okay, I found my notes there, obviously, but maybe that's enough for the moment.
Is is this the most you kind of really can expect? I mean, just historically that these are, whether we like it or not, kind of temper. Is this just kind of what a realistic win is? I mean, you could say like, yeah, the Treaty of Versailles did nothing because we had World War II, and it's okay, but you did have, 20 years of somewhat kind of
Well, the
peace.
20 years after Versailles saw the great powers
Well,
of Europe allowing Germany to rearm.
rise, yeah,
That's exactly what's happening right now.
yeah, so maybe that wasn't I don't know. And I guess Vietnam when that ended. I mean, I'm just trying to look at it if I had to
Yeah,
defend
and
it.
what
It's
happened after the Paris Peace Treaty with
yeah,
North Vietnam,
they just
Kissinger? Thank
bulldozed
you
it.
very
They,
much.
they just bulldozed
They rolled
everything.
over
Yeah,
South Vietnam and took them over,
that's a fair
and now
point.
they're all subjugated under communism.
That's a fair point. And then if it's like okay, it's like what about Korea? Yeah, the only thing that worked
Uh,
was military
let's
force.
hope that we can support South Korea, well enough right now that
But
Chinese communists don't roll over it too
just
via
looking back
North
to the
Korea.
50s, it's like, well, what worked? Was it a treaty? No, it was, I mean, we had more US fatalities in
That was
Korea
an
than World War
armistice,
II.
actually. There was no treaty
But
after
that's
the,
my point. It's like, what's the one
yeah,
thing that worked?
kind of.
Military force, blood,
Yeah,
and steel.
and deterrence.
Yeah.
The power of
And they're still
deterrence.
there. Yeah.
Um,
That's a fair
that line
point.
is still there. The demilitarized zone is still there between
That's a
North and
fair
South
point.
Korea. But
Mhm.
back to Gaza. I'm not sure that all of those involved in the negotiations actually understand the history of Islam. If we ask them, do you know about the Treaty of Hudaybiyah and Hudna, would they know what that was?
I didn't until you told
Would
me.
they know why it's unrealistic to expect Hamas to willingly lay down its weapons, even though they've been offered the leadership, whatever's left, I guess, to lay down their weapons and go into exile if there is some country, some place that would accept them. And they leave Gaza and they go into exile. That's been offered. That's part of the 20-point plan, too. But they're not going to accept that. And top leadership of Hamas, including Khalil al Khaya, who hangs out in Doha, Qatar, he was at Sharm el Sheikh as part of this grand meeting. And, also, although Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas um, wasn't present for all this, he beamed in by, or wait, he was present. I take that back. He was present at Sharm el Sheikh. He had beamed in by video to an earlier meeting. Um, but whom I did not see in any of these proceedings or videos or meetings? American ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. I don't know where he is. He's not been visible, and I don't know why.
That's an um I'm no I'm just thinking back to the examples I was using, and it really it's like, so why did it remain peace in Korea? Because we have so many soldiers there. And it's like, well, you could say that we had a treaty with Japan after we nuked them. No, we're still on Okinawa. We're still on
Well,
Iwo
remember
Jima.
though what happened in Japan, and this I think maybe coulda ought to be a model for Gaza. General Douglas MacArthur,
Yeah.
right, commander of the Pacific Forces, basically took
They
over
called him
Japan.
there's the picture of the
The
emperor bowing
emperor
to him.
was ousted. He was
Yeah.
no longer
It
in
was
control.
Emperor
You know,
MacArthur.
shoved to the side. Um, and the Allies, Americans, basically took over all administration
Wrote the
of the
Constitution.
Japanese government, reformed, redid its entire administration, governmental functions administration,
Not allowed to have a
um,
military.
but also, really importantly, yeah, the military, really importantly, um, they took over the schools. They rewrote, literally rewrote all the textbooks. And any parts of those textbooks that referred to the emperor as a god, or imperialism, all of that fueled, the Japanese invasion of East Asia during World War II was taken out. All of that was taken out of the textbooks. And now we're a good, what, 4 or 5 generations, if you count a generation maybe as 20 years or so, um, since the end of World War II. And what is Japan? One of our, most closest allies in the Far East, modern,
Was
technologically
one of the most
advanced
admirable
democracy.
nations. Yeah.
But that was because of a total
Yeah.
overhaul of the entire country under occupation. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that meme where it's like violence is never the answer, and then I start rapidly flipping through a history book on, oh, whoa, 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 hold on.
Uh,
Well, I'm just thinking, and then it's like, what about Germany? What was different? Well, we're still in Ramstein. Our biggest base outside of the U.S. is Ramstein. Like,
that's
yeah,
true.
no, my examples aren't really working, and then the places we left are the places that fell right back into it. Yeah, no, I think I kind of defeated my own point. I mean. Sure, in a vacuum, a treaty is better than
I mean,
killing.
everybody is glad for a ceasefire.
Sure,
They're
yeah,
they're
it's
cheering and
better than
dancing in
nothing.
Gaza.
Yeah, it's
And
better
by the
than
way,
nothing.
all those Gazans who are out there happy and cheering about the ceasefire, they look pretty happy, healthy, and well fed, actually.
Yeah,
I
it's
I don't see anybody who looks emaciated or starving.
and the I think the and I there's a reason I deactivated my Twitter was my own mental health. But even just seeing people sending me tweets yesterday
Uh,
of like Gavin Newsom's like office and they're all mocking Trump's peace deal, and it's like,
no,
I mean,
no, I
it's
don't
like,
mock it.
no, no, that's what I mean is like
Yeah.
it's like can we I vividly remember my buddy Ernie, who's like the most far left dude I know. He was in the Obama administration, but I vividly remember him coming out on Facebook when Trump went to Korea,
Hmm.
and he was like, "I despise Trump." He's like, "Can you please?" He's like, "Fellow liberals, like, can we be happy about a potential denuclearization? Like, at some point, do you have to go? You don't have to like the guy, but this is good." I think the hatred for him is
It's
so strong.
unbelievable. It's just
You
unbelievable.
really,
Yeah.
it's
Trump derangement syndrome is a real
it's not
psychiatric
it's
diagnosis
not
and belongs
fake.
in the medical books.
It's
Not there
psychop.
yet, but it belongs there.
It's yeah, no, no. It started as a meme. It is psycho because there should be some things that you can look at and go,
Yeah.
that is objectively good.
Yeah, and we take the ceasefire as a good and an enormous successful accomplishment again by both Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump in collaboration, yes, with others who joined the effort. Okay, now, we rejoice, as I said, with the Israeli families. I mean, there's just nothing. uh, so happy to see as those families coming together again. That is worth it all by itself.
Yeah, and it
But okay, now it's Wednesday and we need to start looking ahead to what comes next. And we can bring into the discussion the strong points, the not so strong points of Trump's 20-point plan. How do we think this is going to work out? Will it work out? That's a fair discussion to have, without tearing it down. This was an enormous, incredible effort that's already had, a great deal of success. Now we look forward where we need to go next.
yeah, I hope the international stabilizing force doesn't slowly slip into U.S. Marines.
Well, or, something like the UN
Yeah,
established in
that or that I
Lebanon,
was going to
let's
say
say
a
UNIFIL, the
peacekeeping force.
UN Intermediate, what do they call it? The
They call 'em- I think
force
peace.
on Lebanon.
Yeah,
It didn't work out so well. It did nothing to disarm Hezbollah, which it was supposed to do. Israel had to do that.
I guess
Um,
I guess
but, if it is genuinely an international, force with contributions from different countries, different places, um, just don't let it be under the United Nations. That's all.
I just keep thinking to, and I interviewed him a couple times, Mike Durant. I just
Oh,
keep
yeah.
thinking of Black Hawk Down with 19 or there's 19 total deaths, the Delta Operators Rangers.
1993.
Yep, in October 1993, and famously Shughart and Gordon in is because peacekeeping and we're giving them aid, and it did nothing because
Yeah.
ID'd and
The
who
other
else?
warlords. Yeah.
It meant nothing, and I guess that's my fear is because I just look at it like guys I know that are my age that are in the were in the Marines and how much damage it's done to them physically and mentally. And I guess that's my gut feeling where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, a ceasefire is better, but I don't know if I'm okay with US, with our boys going over there.
I don't know that there's been any real suggestion of
Sh
U.S. troops
Sure.
being part of that international stabilization
And I hope
force.
there isn't.
Supposedly from it's there to come from the region,
Yeah.
those countries around there. But here's the other thing: in this period of time, and especially as the prisoners released by Israel go back to Gaza, and also a bunch of them are going to Judea and Samaria, mostly Samaria, but a very, very dangerous, troublesome area there that where Hezbollah also, I mean, sorry, Hamas is also um, establishing itself and with a very, very serious presence there in Samaria, but also many hundreds going back to Gaza. Now, all of them are not going to turn to terrorism again, but some will. And we know that Hamas has already been replenishing its ranks, even as the fighting was still going on, from among whom? Among the Gazan people. That's where they come from. And now the prisoners going back, at least some of them, a good number, will, I mean, blood on their hands already. They'll go back to jihad. They'll go back to terrorism
Yeah. And I don't mean
against Israel.
and I don't mean it to chop it off abruptly. Like I have a phone call with
I know you
with my
do.
doctor,
Okay.
so I don't mean to chop it off
No, no,
immediately. But
no.
um,
Understood.
thank you so much, guys. Please go in
You're
the
welcome.
description. Please go follow her Twitter. Please go all the links in the description. United West, all that good stuff. And we'll do another show that's not as rushed and everything. But as
Sure. Let's do
always,
another one.
Miss
Okay.
Lopez, thank you so much for your time. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Talk to you
Yes, ma'am.
soon. All
Thank
right.
you guys for watching, everybody. Take